Plano Mayor John Muns, thank you so much. Welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Thank you, Jack. It's good to be here.
Good to see you. So Plano is on a roll. I guess you could say you've scored a hat trick, right? Because here the city has taken a giant step forward now to being the new home for the Dallas Stars. You've got AT&T now has moved its corporate headquarters to Plano. And Samsung now is going to move to Plano. Plus the city is top 300,000 population. What's going on here?
Well, I think the main thing that's going on is the city of Plano is very intentional in what they do. They really value relationships, and at the same time, we get things done. We're user-friendly. We want our companies to know that if they choose us to build a new office here in Plano, it's going to get done expeditiously, and we're going to make sure that they get up and running as soon as possible.
What is the secret sauce, though? Because it's one thing to say it, to welcome people, et cetera, but to your point, to getting it done.
I think first and foremost, we talk a lot about this and just say, well, relationships really matter. But for us in Plano, we go see our companies on a regular basis. Not just once a year, maybe 3 times a year. Check in on them. How you doing? How can we help you be more successful? We take these trips to Asia, to Korea and Japan and Taiwan to make sure that they understand how important they are to us. And that same thing holds true to somebody like a JP Morgan or an AT&T or the Dallas Stars. And so when the Dallas Stars approached us over a year and a half ago and said, you know, we might be interested in moving. Obviously, we didn't know about some of the conflicts that were going on in Dallas and the Mavericks and things like that. But we said, we'd love to pursue that opportunity. And those talks started immediately.
Were you surprised?
At first, yes, I was.
And was this always going to be at the Willow Bend Mall site?
Yes.
Why? What was their attraction?
Well, this comes from the Stars. So I will tell you that the Stars told us you can say the Willow Bend Mall, but really it's the tollway intersection of the Bush is the bullseye for their season ticket holders. So in that radius of whatever that radius might be, that's where the center of the earth is for them. And so that was really important to them to really kind of realign where their season ticket holders were and try to make it easier for all of them to get to an arena.
And I was going to ask you, because there's no light rail site, which a lot of people have mentioned, you know, bus routes, et cetera. Doesn't sound like they need that.
It doesn't, but at the same time, and we're already having conversations with DART about making plans for definitely buses and rideshare and things like that. But even rail, we're working on some opportunities where tracks already exist to try to see, you know, will we be able to do that in a 5-year period? I don't know, but those talks are definitely ongoing to help get people to where they need to get to efficiently. That may not be in that radius that I'm talking about, but still want to come to the Stars games.
And so, I mean, you've got the new rail, the Silver Line.
Silver Line.
So you're talking about an offshoot of the Silver Line towards that site, the Willow Bend site?
I mean, that's a possibility, but it really would be an offshoot of the Red Line that would kind of go northwest towards the tollway and a little beyond that and be able to be just west of the mall area.
So from Central?
From Central.
All the northwest, crossing the Bush?
Yeah, being north of the Bush. There's a track that actually is on the north side of the Bush, whereas the Silver Line's on the south side.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but we'll definitely talk to DART about making sure that we have mass transit in that development area for fans.
Interesting, especially given your new deal with DART.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to that, but as far as the stars, so it would be potentially Plano investing $700 million into this $3 billion project, right?
Right, correct.
And so how is the city going to pay for that?
Well, so we create a TIRZ, Tax Increment Financing Zone, and it's up and down the tollway from Plano Parkway all the way up to Windhaven on the east side and the west side of the tollway. So we have a lot of commercial and retail up and down that area. Nobody's taxes will change. We will just designate that revenue to Willow Bend for a 41-year period.
And that will be enough to pay for that without raising property taxes, et cetera.
We will not raise property taxes at all. The only other area that we will ask for that we talked about last night would be some revenue user taxes for parking, tickets, rent-a-car, hotel, motel.
So those users would be paying an additional.
Yeah, we have no new taxes for any of our residents to do this deal.
And as far as the hotel rental car, is that anywhere in the city? Or it's not just in that area, obviously, right?
Correct. Anyone that is using the arena for ticket sales or parking or whatever that may be, that will be revenue also that goes into that waterfall of revenues, that making sure that not only will the TIRZ and these waterfall revenues will make sure not only that we do our part on the arena, but that we also put money in there for updating the arena every 10, 15 years to make sure that we are taking care of the arena for the sports team as well, to make sure it's updated on a regular basis.
Because the city of Plano would still own it.
We'd still own it, and we want to make sure that they're satisfied with where they're playing in the first 10 years, and the 30 years, and whatever goes beyond that.
Right, because at Victory Park, where the Stars play now, and obviously the Dallas Mavericks, I was told that, that building was built for 50 years, and here we are 25 years later, and it's obsolete. So you're saying that what Plano wants to prevent is that new arena, if it is built in Plano, to become obsolete before the term is done.
Correct. I think it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that we come up with a way to have funds available for those updates. And I think the Stars understand how much they would appreciate that, being that didn't happen in Dallas. Now, the Stars and the Mavericks have two completely different ideas of what they need for a successful arena. And so we weren't aware of that, like a lot of us, until we started having these conversations about how different programming is for basketball and hockey.
And as far as just the concept of being over there and having this arena, you're going to have hotel.
Maybe two.
Maybe two hotels.
Yeah.
Any big brands?
Sure, yes.
Who?
Oh, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet, okay. But apartments?
Yes.
Office?
Yes, very much office. A lot of office.
Restaurants?
That's going to be the key entertainment district, which is that corridor that walks up to the arena. And you see it on television all the time, where the folks that don't have tickets are there enjoying themselves, watching it on a big screen, things like that, but also at the restaurant, at the bars, really in an area that's in that large corridor that we're seeing all over the country for these new arenas. And that will also generate revenue for the Stars and the developer in creating this large entertainment zone that's really open every single day. But for game days, that'll be a real attraction.
And what about retail? Because obviously you're coming from a big mall, but all these stores, you know, Macy's, Dillard's, Neiman's, they're closing. But you still have Crate and Barrel there. Is that going to be gone as well, or are some retail going to stay?
You know, that's up to Centennial, but they've implied that there is going to be some retail there. And, you know, Equinox, which is an exercise facility, and Crate and Barrel, it implies that they are going to have kind of on the southwest side or the west side of the mall area a retail component to everything else that's there as well.
And what about concerns from homeowners about traffic or property values, et cetera? Have you heard those?
Oh, sure.
And what's your answer to that?
Our answer is we've already started interviewing traffic consultants about helping us with the ingress and egress.
Arlington has a lot of experience in that.
And actually, and quite frankly, I'm going to call my good friend Jim Ross, and we're going to sit down, and I'm going to find out, you know, what the do's and don'ts of moving forward with a large stadium or arena. So we're going to get as much input as we can, but most of that input is going to come from our residents, and we're going to help alleviate a lot of those fears, because the one thing about Willow Bend is it is 100 acres. It is not just accessible to the tollway, but it's accessible to 8 to 10 different major avenues that can really move people in different directions and still get them back on the major highways that they want to get on. And so we're real hopeful that we'll be able to have a plan that really helps people understand, which is what AT&T did as well. When the Cowboys started there, they gave everybody different instructions on how to arrive at their parking lot or whatever it was. And I think we're going to do the same thing, is to be able to mitigate everyone going in the same area at the same time. The entertainment district is hopefully one that will give people more opportunity to get there a little early, enjoy dinner, and, you know, with different restaurants that are in that corridor, and maybe stay a little later after the game's over. And I know that that's hard to do, because I think a lot of people want to get there at the last minute. I think Dallas is notorious for that. And when it's over, it's over. But I think we're going to provide a lot of opportunities for them to come early and stay late, and certainly be there during non-game days as well. That will be a whole lot of fun to be there.
And, you know, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, this is a letter of intent, but it's a really strong one, right? I mean, I spoke with Mayor Eric Johnson of Dallas, as you know, and he was saying nothing is a done deal yet.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what still has to happen to finalize this, right? People have to go vote for the taxes you were talking about, right? So what else has to happen to make this a done deal?
So the LOI is, like you said, it's non-binding.
Letter of intent.
Letter of intent. So we will pursue a master agreement over the summer, maybe, you know, into early fall. And once we have that master agreement, then the details between us and the Stars and the developer will be finalized. And really all that will be left is where any of those other waterfall revenue sources that we're looking for will come on November 3rd to approve. So it's a state law. If you're going to have venue taxes, which are all those varieties that we talked about earlier, then it requires a vote of the citizens. But these do not affect the citizens that are voting. So it really only affects those that are going to the game and things like that.
Are the Stars negotiating with Dallas still, or is that done?
I don't know that, but
Have they told you anything about that? Have you asked?
they've told us that they're committed to Plano.
And you take them, that's a good sign, obviously.
You know, I said this last night, and I said, you know, we've been in these discussions for over a year and a half, and I think there's been some trust that we've created over that year and a half, and so I believe it when they tell us that they're committed, and obviously we've gone through some, you know, highs and lows through this, and watching this lawsuit between the two sports teams and go, well, what does this mean? And we everybody's kind of come out of it, and the Mavericks are going to do what they're going to do, and the Stars want to do what they want to do. So I trust that this is their objective, and we're going to work really hard to make it happen.
The Mavericks never called the city of Plano about moving here, did they?
I can't answer that.
That's not a no.
They inquired, but it's been a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you about AT&T.
Okay.
How did you get them to come to Plano?
Well, AT&T was looking in many different properties all across North Texas, and it was very competitive. We were putting our best foot forward, knowing that cities all around us were doing the same thing. I come back to this, and one of the things that we talk about, why, you know, there's this secret sauce mentality, and it's the same thing I get from our international customers too, is that Plano is a safe and secure community, which is very important. We have great education. We have a qualified workforce, and that's a big one. And those three things, including great health care as well, make a big difference to these companies. And they kind of tick the boxes off of the things that are really the most important to them. And so I think you'd have to ask AT&T why, but we responded immediately and told them, you know, and they were looking at different sites in Plano. So we were trying to do the best we could to promote whatever site they were looking at that time. And they started really focusing on the EDS campus, the old EDS campus.
Near Legacy.
Near Legacy. And one of the campuses that they were really attracted to was JP Morgan Chase's campus in Legacy West. And it was more of a horizontal city in and of itself. 7 buildings, something like that, big avenue, you know, food service, all these kind of things that really work for them. And I felt like they were really attracted to that concept. And now I know that's very similar to what they're going to build for their campus. And so I think we had the access. They had a lot of employees that worked at AT&T that are up in the north part of Plano and Frisco and others. And I think all of those factors came into play. But they are building, I think, what they imagined they wanted to have, and we're able to provide that. on this new campus.
And how many other cities were you competing against for their headquarters?
I'm sure it was more than 5.
Which ones?
I don't know. I know Frisco was one. I think Irving was one, but outside of that, I'm not sure. We're hearing, the worst, the best gossipers are your real estate developers and real estate brokers. So we would hear a different story every single day. So we just tried to focus on trying to promote our sites, and there were several that hopefully AT&T would be interested in enough to make that commitment.
And then you also landed Samsung's corporate headquarters, and they just had a building in New Jersey. They, I guess, are giving up and moving the headquarters here to Plano, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, how were you, and was that something you went out and, tried to lure them here, or was this just they decided, hey, we want to move to Plano?
We were in Seoul, South Korea in April with the Samsung people in Suwon, Korea, and it never got brought up. We had a wonderful meeting, and once again, we were there trying to build our relationships because they do have a facility here that has about 3,000 people
On the east side.
on the east side, and very successful. And obviously they have their chip plant in Taylor, Texas, near Austin. And but we had no idea until almost everybody else heard. So it was really kind of a surprise to us, but it was a welcome surprise because Samsung is a great client, and we're really proud
So they
to
just
have
picked
them.
up the phone and called you and say, hey, we're moving to Plano?
Yeah,
That easy?
yeah.
And so are they going to go to your existing site, their existing site off of Central Expressway and Legacy, right?
That we don't know.
Okay.
I don't. It's so early. We don't even know how many square feet they're really going to need. I feel like they're really full where they're at right now. I don't know how much more capacity they have. They may want to build another building right next to it, or we have some capacity over on the west side too.
And Legacy West?
In Legacy West, and the EDS corridor has several campus facilities that they could utilize.
Near AT&T's
Correct.
new headquarters.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, as far as like tax breaks, tax incentives, not only for Samsung, AT&T, have they been offered? And if so, does that put more pressure on homeowners in a sense that they're paying for it when you offer tax breaks?
Sure. No, I mean, you have to look at an incentive as the number of employees that they're bringing, the capital commitment that they're bringing, and that really factors into what we're prepared to offer. We would never offer anything that was a net negative to the city of Plano. So everything that we offer will be a net positive. And Toyota, I think, got a 15-year deal. AT&T will be in that same category. So even the largest of companies, with AT&T, will have 10,000 employees on that campus alone. So, it's significant revenue, just each one of those 10,000 employees, where they eat, where they buy a home, where they shop. All of that sales tax revenue is somewhat unknown, but it's significant. And so when we see these companies that are operating and moving in, we also see a real bump in our sales tax revenue, and that has a lot to do with it. So you have to kind of look at the tangible aspects of somebody moving to Plano and making sure you have a net positive financial goal there. But then you have this intangible area of all the people and what they're spending their dollars on in the city of Plano, and that ends up being very significant.
I have one other question on this topic, and that is just on jobs, right?
Right.
You said that this area is rich in as far as a great workforce, et cetera. Are new people going to move in though, like from the corporate headquarters for Samsung in New Jersey? Are those people are going to be coming here? Will there be jobs for others in our area already? I mean, how much of it will be new, do you think? In the case of AT&T and here, Samsung.
I think for AT&T, a significant amount will either move from Dallas or already here. The only case study we have, would be Toyota moving from Torrance.
Yeah, California.
And that ended up being about 40% of their employees moved from Torrance. It'll be probably something similar to that. Those that are really established in New Jersey and they just don't feel like they want to make that move. But it'll be a real opportunity for someone to be able to have an opportunity to work for somebody like Samsung that lives here right now. And so I think we'll be in good shape either way.
How significant is it that the city is now over 300,000 people?
I think I go back to kind of the folks that came before me and just really had a great plan for this city. We grew in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s like you're seeing up north in Prosper and Anna and Princeton and McKinney and Frisco. We had those moments, and it was significant, and that got us to about 200, 250. What we've done over the last 10 to 15 years is to be able to reimagine areas that are no longer in the condition they need to be successful. Collin Creek, Willow Bend, EDS, JCPenney. Those were, hallmark companies that put us on the map. But we also have to consider, where do we go from here, and what's the best use for these facilities? And I think we've been very thoughtful on these type of decisions and making sure that whatever we did, it was better, not only for our community, but for those businesses that are making those decisions. And so I think there's a lot of thought that goes into this. There's a lot of planning that goes into this. And at the end of the day, people still want to be here. And I think that's what's really impressive, is that we have continued to have a quality of life that people embrace and enjoy, and we're going to continue to make sure that we provide the resources that they need to be happy here in Plano, but at the same time, making sure that we have the opportunities that give them the reason to stay here as well. And we work really well with our corporate community to make sure that happens.
And then I just wanted to ask you on DART. I know New Deal,
Yeah.
and so light rail obviously is a key factor, and we talked about that earlier. But bus service is going to change, right? And so what's left, unless there are other deals with getting people to the new Stars Arena once that happens,
Sure.
it's just going to be express service, right? So there's not going to be city service anymore?
No, there's going to be city service.
Okay.
I mean, we're continuing to do city service, but we're also doing a micro transit service outside of DART through VIA called Plano Rides. And right now, it's just for people 65 and over. And they're going to their doctor's appointments and maybe to the grocery and things like that. It is a huge success. And we we are having more rides than ever before. So we're going back to DART and saying, okay, here's some test marketing that we have that shows this is a real demand for a city like Plano, and we'd like you to consider integrating things like this into our transit, opportunities here in Plano. And they've been very receptive to those things. I think that's the difference is now there's 12 member cities. We're all different in a way, and yet we all have different needs. And I think the one thing that I'm seeing out of DART that's new is they're receptive to listening to suggestions that might make them more successful, have higher ridership, cleaner, safer, things like that. And I think that's a refreshing tone that I don't think I've heard in a long time.
Well, Plano Mayor John Muns, we've talked about a lot today, so I really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you so much, Jack. Always enjoy it.